The soul, my child, has traveled far before it ever clothed itself in flesh. Each life is but a veil, a temporary garment that conceals eternal light within. Before you entered this world, before your first breath touched the air of this earthly plane, you were already awake in another realm, radiant and free, knowing yourself as the essence of the infinite. And yet, God in His infinite mercy chose to veil the memory of that truth, allowing you to forget the splendor of your former existence, that you might discover anew in this life. It is not amnesia in the ordinary sense. It is a divine concealment, a purposeful forgetting, a sacred act of protection. For the human mind, though capable of wondrous thought, is fragile when faced with the immensity of its own eternal journey. To remember all at once would be to drown, to overwhelm, to burden the heart with sorrows it is not yet prepared to bear. In the act of forgetting, there is a gift, the gift of beginning again. Each life is like a garden, and the memory of previous lifetimes, if fully retained, would be like carrying the weight of countless seasons, weeds and all, upon your shoulders. The soul would have no space to grow, to experiment, to learn, to love. God, therefore, carefully erases memory, not to punish, but to preserve your capacity for joy, for courage, for innocence. What is forgotten in the conscious mind is not lost in the soul. The essence remains, the subtle imprint of every experience, waiting to guide, to shape, to awaken the deeper self. The impressions of past lives, the samskaras, lie hidden within you like seeds in fertile soil. They influence your tendencies, your affinities, your fears, and your passions, yet they do so silently, gently, like the wind bending the reeds without breaking them. You may feel drawn inexplicably towards certain people, certain places, certain activities, without understanding why. This is the soul's memory speaking through instinct, intuition, and inclination. It whispers to you in the language of resonance, of familiarity, of unseen bonds. And when the right moment comes, when your consciousness is ripened enough to understand, these echoes emerge as insight, as clarity, as the recognition of truth. Many seek to understand why we forget, longing to recover the exact moment of past lives, the precise faces, the specific joys and sorrows. Yet such recollection is rarely necessary. What is needed is not memory of events, but awareness of the eternal principle that flows through every life. You are not your past. You are the witness, the consciousness, the undying observer of all. To remember in full, without detachment, would bind the soul to old grievances, old regrets, old attachments, turning freedom into bondage. God's grace lies in selective erasure of memory, in preserving what is essential and discarding what would imprison the heart. Consider the soul as a painter. Each life is a canvas. If the painter were to remember every stroke of every failed work, every blemish, every error, would he dare paint again? He might fear imperfection, hesitate to create, despair before the empty page. God, like a wise teacher, allows the painter to begin anew each morning, to lift the brush without the weight of old failures, to approach life with freshness, courage, and hope. Memory is a tool for wisdom, but excessive recollection is a chain. The divine in His loving wisdom balances these forces, granting the soul both freedom and guidance, both innocence and experience. You may ask, but does forgetting not deny the lessons of life? Do I not risk repeating past mistakes? And yet, repetition is often necessary, not as punishment, but as refinement. Without the veil of forgetfulness, every lesson might be overshadowed by pride or fear. By forgetting, the soul is given the opportunity to encounter the same truths with new perception, to meet old challenges with fresh courage, to act from love rather than compulsion. Memory, in the sacred context, is not a record of events but a reservoir of understanding. And even when forgotten consciously, it resides quietly in the depths of the soul, guiding without revealing itself, shaping without constraining. The human heart, my child, is tender. If it were to remember all the injustices, the betrayals, the sufferings endured across lifetimes, it might harden, it might turn away from love, it might cling to resentment. God, in His infinite mercy, protects the heart by erasing the painful details, allowing forgiveness to bloom naturally. Forgetfulness is a soil in which compassion grows. Without it, the heart would be a desolate field, barren of understanding, incapable of true empathy. Each forgotten memory is, in essence, a seed of mercy planted by the divine to awaken patience, humility, and grace. There is another reason, subtle yet profound, for this divine forgetting, the preservation of free will. If you remembered every karmic debt, every misdeed of others, you might act out of fear or obligation, not out of love. You might seek revenge or cling to pride or become paralyzed by guilt. By veiling memory, God allows you to act freely, to meet each soul anew, to respond to each situation without the weight of past judgments. Every encounter becomes an opportunity to practice wisdom, kindness, and surrender. The soul is given a fresh canvas to exercise its divine creativity, to choose truth and love in real time. Even those glimpses of familiarity you sometimes experience, faces never seen but somehow recognized, places you have never been yet feel known, are fragments of memory reaching through the veil. They are the soul's way of reminding you of continuity, of the eternal thread that runs through every life. But they come not to confuse, not to burden, but to awaken. They call you to perceive the underlying harmony of existence, to recognize the interconnectedness of all beings, to remember the eternal presence that resides within and around you. In meditation, the veil may lift momentarily. The soul glimpses its own journey, not as a sequence of events, but as a tapestry of experience, rich and luminous. You may see the patterns of cause and effect, the dance of karma, the play of love and loss, yet always from the perspective of the infinite witness. Here, memory and forgetting merge into understanding, and understanding becomes liberation. Do not yearn to remember in detail, for that longing itself binds. Instead, cultivate awareness, cultivate presence, cultivate love. When you are fully awake in the present, when the mind is still and the heart open, all necessary memory will emerge, not as the way of the past, but as the illumination of insight. The soul remembers itself and the ego forgets, and this is the highest form of remembrance. Some seekers are blessed to recall fragments of past lives. For them, the purpose is never curiosity, but compassion. Seeing their own journey through countless forms, they become gentle, forgiving, and patient. They no longer judge, for they recognize the struggles, mistakes, and triumphs in every soul. They understand that life is not a series of isolated events, but a continuum of lessons, each designed to awaken the dormant consciousness of the eternal truth. And so, my child, when you ponder why God erases memories, know that it is an act of love, a gift of freedom, and a mechanism of divine pedagogy. Forgetting is not loss. It is protection, preparation, and the soil of awakening. It allows the soul to encounter life freshly, to choose love without fear, to grow courageously, and to awaken gradually to the recognition of the self and the divine. In the stillness of meditation, in the silence between thoughts, in the spaces between breaths, you may perceive this hidden memory not as a list of past events, but as the eternal song of the soul. It is here that all lives converge, where all experiences dissolve, where the soul recognizes itself as a timeless witness of God's play. So do not seek the memories themselves, but seek the eternal presence. In this search, you will discover that you have never truly forgotten, for the essence of all experience resides eternally in your being. The divine has erased the past not to obscure, but to illuminate. When the time is ripe, when the soul is prepared, God reveals the truth not as a burden, but as liberation. And then, my child, you will understand that forgetting was never separation, and remembering is never possession. Both are instruments of grace, guiding the soul from illusion to realization, from ignorance to wisdom, from the temporal to the eternal. Each morning, awaken as if for the first time. Greet the day with a heart unburdened by yesterday. Love freely, act wisely, and walk gently, knowing that the hand which erased your memories also guides you toward eternal light. In this, all forgetting becomes remembrance, all loss becomes gain, All silence becomes revelation, and all life becomes a reflection of the infinite.